I would like to start finish the topic of Yom Kippur and go through some of the details, not through everything. In סימן Reish Yud Ches. I'll jump around some of the seifim and focus a lot on things that are actually not written in Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, which are relevant to Hilchos Yom Kippur. The סימן opens up with a chole that says that he needs to eat. You tell him it's Yom Kippur, or you know that he knows that it's Yom Kippur, and even if he doesn't say that he has to eat, that if he's not going to eat, he's going to get saknas nefashos, you still feed him until he says enough. And we don't say, oh, this guy's a liar, this guy's a rasha, because he knows what he is. And that's the idea of eating is even if the doctors tell him that he does not need, or it's going to cause him damage, we still listen to the chole. By the way, the Mata Ephraim in Seif Aleph says, it doesn't mean that the chole says clearly, I want to eat. Or it also applies if you ask the chole, do you want to eat? And he says yes. That already qualifies for all the dinim in Yom Kippur as Roitze Ani Le'echel. It's the first Mata Ephraim on this סימן. It's important to know that wherever we say that in this whole סימן, that the chole says that he needs to eat, the same thing would apply according to the Mata Ephraim. If you ask him, do you need to eat? And he says yes. It qualifies the same. It qualifies the same way. Now, if even if the chole says he doesn't have to eat, and the doctor says that he has to eat, and even if the doctor doesn't say there's going to be a sakana, but the doctor says that could be that the chole is going to become worse. If the chole is going to become worse, it will become a sakana. You still feed him. There's an interesting kol sofer on Maseches Shvis, page Kuf Tzadik Beis, that when we say, it doesn't explain Alter Rebbe, but Bechlal, what does it mean that he's Yach B'dol V'Choyli and is going to get sick? It means not that he's going to get sick now, not that he's going to get sick now before Yom Kippur is over. It could mean he's going to get sick Bechlal throughout the year, at Seif HaShana. That's how he looks at it. I mean, it's something which is going to have more of a long-term effect. It's also in that same category. The Koil Sofer, the Maseches Shvis, Daf Kuf Tzadik Beis.
There's almost nothing that can't have effect in the future.
I mean a serious effect. Doesn't mean that, when we're going to get to the medical, I'm going to talk about it soon. Now the rest in Sif Gimel, in Sif Daled, in Sif Hey, it discusses one doctor says yes, one doctor says no, etc. I'm not going to go into it. I'm not going to go into it right now. The klal over here is usually you see a few times in these seifim that safek nefashos lahakel, and therefore, for example, if in Sif Gimel he says if one doctor says you have to eat and one doctor says you don't have to eat, and the chole doesn't say anything or doesn't know, we still feed him because safek nefashos lahakel. Yeah, that's one example. And then in Sif Daled it discusses when you have one doctor against two, so it depends if the one doctor is mumche. But if you have two doctors, then those two doctors say you have to eat. Even if there's 100 against him, you still don't accept the 100 against the two. Because once it's two, it becomes like Eidos, and those two have more power than that. Sivav is very important because that points out to you that a goyish doctor or a woman has the same ne'emanus, lahakel, lahachmir, to say you do have to eat, to say you don't have to eat, and even if to disagree with a Yiddish kosher frume doctor who says, let's say the goyish doctor is a bigger mumche. So when you have one mumche, one doctor says yes, one doctor says no, and the doctor who's a mumche is a goy, so you would rely on a goy. The same, and now when it comes to safek nefashos lahakel, you see in Sif Zayin also, the chole says he doesn't need, and the doctor says he doesn't know if he needs, and he has, maybe there's no even chashash at yach b'dol of chole. Still, it's a safek. It's not one safek. it's a suffix shemayach b'dalav chayli. And shemayach b'dalav chayli is a suffix, maybe it's going to bring to sakanas nefashos. And still we say, suffix is still enough for suffix nefashos lahakol, and you will then go and feed him. Sif Tes is an important also, what's the definition of a doctor? A doctor is not only somebody who has a medical degree, but somebody who actually knows about the sickness. If you have a doctor who does not know anything about the sickness, so his opinion is the same as a regular person. So if another doctor will say no, and you have 1 against 1, that doctor's opinion is not counted for anything. A doctor, when it comes to these discussions, if you ask a doctor what to do, it's a doctor who actually knows what it is. Now, and Seif Yud, if it's Seif Yud, discusses as follows. You have no doctor, you see somebody that gets weak in such a way that nira l'roiv b'nei adam, that the majority of people who will see him will determine that he is in a danger. You feed him right away. Now, obviously, if a person faints, there's no need for asking a doctor. But in case you need a mucker that you don't have to ask a doctor when the guy faints, there's a Marsham and Tcheles Mordechai al Torah Chele Gimel page Shin Samachtes, and there's also Igros Moshe Rechaim Chelek Dalet Siman Kuf Chaf Aleph, that when a person faints, you don't have to ask. That's in case you wondered. Igros Moshe, I said in case you need a mucker. Rechaim Chelek Dalet Siman Kuf Chaf Aleph. If you see somebody that's about to lose his mind, almost nitra for daitoi, it's the same. He is like a gather of a chayla sheyesh b'sakone, and you feed him whatever the doctor says to feed him. That's also Mar Sham and Das Torah, the beginning of Siman Tov Reish Yud Zayin. That's in Chaval and B'neimim Chelik Dalet Siman Yud Gimel. The Aruch HaShulchan on this Siman, Seif Gimel, says another interesting din. If you have somebody who's sick, and he's sick, is a chayla mesukin, that means that he's it's a shayla of life and death, but his illness has nothing to do with the food. The eating is not going to make him live longer. The non-eating is not going to make him, Rav Dafka, non-eating is going to make him die. But could be, for a person who's mesukin, the non-eating could cause him to get worse. So we're not going to say, because the Michael is not helping you anything, let's not feed him. He's anyways he's a terminal illness. So what difference is it going to make to him? He's anyways going to die, and this food is not going to help him, and maybe it's going to cause him damage, like we said in the beginning. But he says he wants to eat, so you feed him. That's what he says. Aruch HaShulchan and Tov Reish Yud Chesef Kotten Gimel. Even if it's a suffix, if it's a chayla mesukin or not. That Aruch HaShulchan says in Sif Kotten Gimel. That's the same thing. You still feed him, even if there's no doctor. There are certain people who are not sick, are not deathly sick, but they're old, very old people, and they're weak, and they're a little bit sick, or they start looking sick. The Kaf HaChaim and Sifkot and Ches on this Siman says that a Zokin Muflog, and it starts fasting, and you see there's a Chashash Sakone, you also feed him. You don't say, let's wait and look for the Simanim that we will look by a young person. As an old person, has a different din. I'm going to go off from the Alter Rebbe for a second before I'm going to go back to the Alter Rebbe for the next few sefer. Regarding taking medicines. The halachas of taking medicines on Yom Kippur are the same halachas as taking medicine on Shabbos. The Gzeirah Shchikas HaMamonim that applies on Shabbos applies on Yom Kippur also. Something which you're not allowed to take medicine for on Shabbos, you're not allowed to take medicine for on Yom Kippur. The same kulas which apply on Shabbos apply on Yom Kippur. If you're going to use the kulas of the people that Tiriach Shchikas HaMamonim was even weaker than it was, like I discussed in previous shiurim, then the same kulas would apply here. If it's something which on Shabbos you're allowed to, but his whole body is weak from it or something like that, He has to take medicine. He can take medicine. But how is he going to take medicine on Yom Kippur? I mentioned yesterday in the previous shir that best option is to take bitter medicine that does not have any enjoyment. There's no hanas cheich. Even better is to swallow medicine which has no taste. Because swallowing, not even chewing, it's even less of a problem. Bichlal, I don't think anybody takes the amount of medicine that's a shear. So you always have the pachas mikashir when it comes to medicines. Nobody takes a kakrisevis of pills in one shot. If somebody needs to take water with the medicine, so if it's a chole she'ein bo sakana, you're going to try to avoid it. Now, some medicines, sakonas nefashos, to take it without water. And you're going to have a chole she'ein bo sakana. You're going to swallow a pill without water, and it's going to end up being a chole she'esh bo sakana. So chacham einu b'roishay, you have to take water with it. How are you going to take water with it? So you take the, I forgot who it was, one of them says you take bitter water with it. It means put something bitter into the water, and that way the medicine that you're taking there's no hanoah, not from the medicine and not from the water. Neither of them. If somebody has headaches on Yom Kippur, and everybody has headaches on Yom Kippur because when you fast, you have a headache, and if you fast and you stand, you have more of a headache, and if you fast and you stand and you're squished, even more of a headache, that's not a chole she'ein bo sakana. Chole she'ein bo sakana is a terrible headache, that's nechlash kol gufay, that's a chole she'ein bo sakana. What do you start with? So you take Tylenol, right, or something like that. Tylenol, that there is, you could get suppositories. That's not derech achila. So you start with that. If that doesn't work, you need to take something stronger. Then, as we said before, take it, swallow it, etc., etc., etc. So if you're Dalaf and Alter Rebbe, a chole that knows he has to eat, he's a machmir al atzmai. Same, it's pretty similar to what it says in the Shabbos. You are achas damchem lenafshechem edrosh. Alter Rebbe says that it's almost like, or to use the example, the Aruch HaShulchan says that you have to miyaser him, harass him, or punish him with words. In Sifkat and Daled in the Siman, that Yom Kippur is such a great day. And you're going to do an Aveda on Yom Kippur of Ma'abed Atzman L'das. You're doing something of the sort. That's what's Nafshechim Edmeichem Edrish. Rabbi Kiva Eiger in Psokim V'Takonis, which was mentioned in Shiurim here, not by me, but I think Rabbi Hamnik in the past, 2-3 years ago, when discussing Sha'as HaMagefa. This Psokim V'Takonis, there's rules over there of the Rabbi Kiva Eiger. I think most of Klal Yisrael discovered this booklet when during Corona. Over there, one of the things over there he says about Yom Kippur, he says it's such a big Zman Magefa, yeah, especially in Yom Kippur, don't do this Aveda of Shvichas Damim. Interestingly, it's Litvish Vart and Birka Shmuel, I'm sure all of you know what it is, or Baruch Ber, on Ksubas, Siman Yud. He mentions that there was a person who had to eat and drink on Yom Kippur, and before eating and drinking, when we get to the whole discussion of what brachas you make before and after, he says, "Hineni muchen mezuman lekayim mitzvahs v'chai bohem." We don't do any hineni muchen mezuman in Lubavitch. We only do for Sfiras HaYomer. But in Welt, when you have a lot more hareni muchens, so this is an example of one that maybe Sifrit Beis, if somebody doesn't want to eat still, after essentially means you already told him it's Yom Kippur, you already told him you're committing, you're doing an Aveda, etc., then you force feed him. You don't ask him any questions. Sifrit Gimel Yudalit starts eating with Shiurim, which is where I'm going to digress off the Shulchan Aruch and focus on a lot of other details which are not in the Shulchan Aruch. Lechatchila, for eating, you should eat less than the koseves, which Alter Rebbe says is 2/3, a little bit less than 2/3 of an average egg. What's an average egg? It's 57.6 grams, according to the Chaim Noah, which is about 2 ounces. that's a beitza. So shnei shlish of a beitza beinanis would be about 38 grams, which is 1.34 ounces. Some people are even machmer and say you have to do even less than that, 30 grams, which is 1 ounce. Shnei shlish beitza beinanis is 38 grams, which is 1.34 ounces. There are some rabbanim which, because for whatever reason the suffix deraisa, they want to be machmer like the Chazon Ish, which says that it's 30 grams, which is 1 ounce. According to the Chaim Noah, Shnei Shlish, Chazon Ish, for the Yom Kippur holds that. Shnei Shlish Beitza is 38 grams, which is 1.34 ounces. The Alter Rebbe then continues and says, or you could do more, but still less than the Beitza. The Beitza, like I said, is 57.6 grams, which is 2 ounces. So a little bit less than that. That's the Shiur HaAchila. How long do you wait? The Alter Rebbe says, Kedei Achilas Daled Beitzim. At least Kedei Achilas Gimel Beitzim. Which is a machlokes, what's Kedei Achilas Pras? The amount of time. And the amount of time, you have the smallest shear that exists is 2 minutes for food. The biggest shear is 11 minutes and 9 seconds. Now, so which shear are you going to use? The Rebbe in Sefer HaMenhagim in the Pnim mentions only 2 shiurim, 6 minutes or 7 minutes. In the Pnim of Sefer HaMenhagim, said that Tzemach Tzedek brought 6 or 7, 2 different places in Tzemach Tzedek. In the footnote, Kedei Achilas Pras. Nobody goes into discussion of Daled or Gimel. Kedei Achilas Pras. Pasha Lechatchila Daled Beitzim, yeah.
This year of 6-7 minutes is
the Yom Kippur, yeah. All Tanyas. Sefer HaMenhagim, page 45. You can check it afterwards. In the footnotes, the Rebbe brings from Reb Chaim Noah. Reb Chaim Noah mentions 4, 4.5, 5, 6, 7, 7.5, 8, 9. Why does the Rebbe mention it in the footnotes? Obviously, so you should know, in case of need, you're going to go down. You don't jump. If a person can't do 6 or 7 minutes, you don't say, the Alter Rebbe says that if a doctor says, later on, and we're going to get to it soon, if the doctor says you don't have to, you can't do b'shiurim, so if a person is not going to survive eating every 7 minutes, let him eat a full meal. No, you have a bunch of other shiurim. Maybe he could survive after every 3 minutes. Maybe he could survive after every 4 minutes. He mentions that from the Zdei Chemed in the name of Hillel Paritcher, that the Tzemach Tzedek says between 3 and 7 minutes. And the Rebbe right away says in it, Ein anu achroim l'kol hashmuos. It's a stira to what the Tzemach Tzedek himself says, but the Rebbe still brings it. Zdei Chemed says in the name of Hillel Paritcher. And the Rebbe also mentions that Darkei Hoiro, which is mentioned in the Zdei Chemed, which has a share of 11 minutes and 9 seconds. But in the Pnim, it says 6, 7, which means that if you want to go according to the Ha'aris over there, the Rebbe brings all the shittas, you do 11.9, like 11 minutes and 9 seconds. But the Rebbe mentions 6, 7. So obviously you're going to go with 6, 7. That should be the shear that you're looking at, 6, 7 minutes. And you go down to 3 minutes, because that's a small shear that the Rebbe mentioned. There are other shittas which say 2 minutes, but the Rebbe didn't bring it. The Rebbe didn't mention it, that means it's not in our radar. So 3 minutes is the smallest shear you're going to go to. That's the amount of time for food. For drinking, again, by food we have a shear of how much it is, and drinking, and how much time. So time would be 6, 7 minutes, down to 3 minutes. Starts from 11 minutes and 9 seconds also, because the Rebbe mentioned it in the footnote. You start from 11 minutes and 9 seconds. Then you go down to 9, because the Rebbe mentions Reb Chaim now. And you go down all the way to 3, which is the smallest shear that's mentioned. But you don't go below 3, because the Rebbe didn't mention a shita of 2 minutes. For drinking. Drinking, you have Meloi Lugmov.
It could be 2 minutes for 3 days. It
wouldn't be 2 minutes, it would be 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Because if you divide 3 into 4, you end up with 3 minutes. Yeah. A little bit more than 2 minutes. 2 minutes and whatever, and 15 seconds. Not 2 minutes exactly. If it's a shear of 11 minutes and 9 seconds, you can have a shear of 2 minutes and 15 seconds. It's not the shear that we're discussing. If you're drinking, it's Meloi Lugmov. Meloi Lugmov is you fill up one cheek, and you see how much the max you can hold in one cheek, and you spit it out. This is something which is difficult for most people to do. Already today's poskim already measured it, that it's 40 milliliters, which is 1.35 liquid ounces. And how much time do you wait between them? Same amount of time as before. Right? Kedei Achilas Pras. You have all the shiurim. However, the Alter Rebbe adds over here something else. You could be mekel Kedei Shsias Revis. What is the shiur of Kedei Shsias Revis? There's a great book by the name of V'zois HaBracha, which was written by Harav Alexander Mendelbaum. On all Hilchas Birkas Hananin, personally, I believe it's the best book, best likut on Birkas Hananin. Probably printed like 9 or 10 editions already, and it's only a 20-year-old book. It's on Netzach Chochmah. And over there, he has in the end of the book, he has a little like pilpulim called Birur Halacha. V'zois habracha. And over there in the end, page 240, 241, he has Birur Halacha Ois Yud Aleph. He goes through it. First thing he discusses, he opens by mentioning the Alter Rebbe. What's Roiv? What's Kedei Shsias Revis? He brings from Seder Birkas Hanan in Perek Ches Seif Vav. What the amount of time of Shsias Roiv Bnei Adam, the amount of time that most people would drink a Revis. And he goes into the whole pilpul. How many people could actually guzzle down the whole Revis in one shot? It would mean 2 or 3 sips, not exactly 2 or 3 sips without putting the cup down. But some people could drink a whole thing with a straw, whatever. Yeah, and now, but how much is it l'payil? So, I saw certain poskim would say 20 seconds. It's Kedei Shsias Revis. I heard from some Lubavitch Rabbanim that it's 30 seconds. And I actually asked Rabbi Kasimov, who goes to the Bertziner, and the Bertziner told him that really it's 12, 13 seconds. But Derech HaPsika that's accepted is 30 seconds. So that's the Kedei Shsias Revis would be 30 seconds. However, just to point out, Rav Farkash told me from Eretz Yisrael that because the way you're mechash of shiur revis, Kedei Shsias Revis, is how many sips you're going to take without putting the cup down. So make sure to tell the person, if they're following the Kedei Shsias Revis shiur, 30 seconds to put the cup down before taking another sip. So you're going to drink the 1.35 ounces, put it down, wait 30 seconds, do the next Val Zeh HaDerech. It's important to just remind everyone, when you're dealing with it, the shiurim of Achila and Shsiya, the times run parallel. That means you could have the kakeisevis or less than the kakeisevis, whatever it is, the shiur of food, and then you're going to wait the 4 minutes. But during those 4 minutes, you could eat, you could have the drinking, and it's not. Each one has its own timer, and they could run at the same time. It's not that you have to wait. It's not that you have to wait 9 minutes after food and then drink and then wait another 9 minutes for the biggest share. It's not. It could be the two are together. What is liquid and what is food? Today, in today's day and age, a lot of things that you would think are liquid. What is ice cream? Liquid is a food. It used to be liquid, it became food. But if it's going to melt, it's going to become liquid again. What's a yogurt? It's a lemon. Honey. The Gemara calls it a noisel. Are you able to drink it with a straw? No. The ice cream melts. So that's the way I tell people, and I'll tell you soon why. Very simple. If you could stick a straw into it and drink it, it's a liquid. If you can't stick a straw into it and drink it, it's not a liquid. End of story. That's a simple way I tell people. Therefore, a lot of yogurts, are liquid, lebens are liquid, ice cream is not liquid. If you need a fork or a spoon, it's food. If you need a straw, it's liquid. Some things you could eat a leben with a spoon or with a straw, but it could be drunk with a straw, so it's a liquid. You're going to eat it with a spoon, so you're mechashev and l'maychel. You created the problem for yourself.
Clearly, you can have let's say, a drink, let's say, the vegetables that they grind.
Smoothies.
Whatever, smoothies.
We'll get to it soon. Now, where do I get this svara from? Seder bikas ananim perek ches halacha ches. Oichel shenimoyach kol kach at sheroi l'shia yotza mitoyras oichel. V'chein mashke shenikrash kol kach at sheroi l'achila yotza mitoyras mashke afilu im yesh boi tefeach am naslat piach. So that's the klal. Is it nimoyach kol kach that it became roi l'shia? Roi l'shia. You could be drunk, right? So 11, you could eat it with a spoon, but it could be soft, you could eat it. Now, let's apply it, let's go back a second. Ice cream. When it's frozen, it's nikrash, right? You can't eat it. It's a mashke shenikrash kol kach at sheroi la'achila. So therefore, it will be counted as food. If it melted, it's oichel shenimoyach kol kach at sheroi l'shia. Melted. So it depends if you're eating frozen ice cream. You could eat, according to this, you'll be able to eat frozen ice cream, and then you could eat melted ice cream at the same time. That's not what it counts. How you put it into your mouth. But let's go through this discussion. If you have about ice cream, there's 3 shittas in the Achronim, which are in the Heintik Achronim. The V'zei Sabrocha in page 42-43 brings it. According to Reb Chaim Kanievsky, if it's liquid, it became solid. It's food. It matches with what the Alter Rebbe says. The Beir Moshe, Chelek Aleph Siman Yud Aleph, says if it was liquid and it became solid, like ice cream, it remains together of liquid. Pshem Zalman Auerbach and the Betzela Chochma, Chelek Gimel Siman Kuf Yud Aleph say that it depends on what kind of ice cream. If it's ice cream which is made, has like food in it, like it's made from fruits or from other things or from fat, whatever it is, it's like food when it's frozen. But ices, which is made from water, is like water even when it's frozen. Obviously, if it's melted now, it's obviously considered a liquid. Yeah, but I told you, like, according to the Alter Rebbe, you look at it, it's what the category is now. Nikrash kol kach at sheroi la'achila, or nimoyach kol kach at sheroi l'shia. The code word sheroi l'shia. Honey. What's the din of honey? You can't drink it with a straw. It's one of the, but it's the Chachamim counted it as one of the Shiva Mashkois.
They're talking about honey
From figs, right? Yeah. Let's talk about regular honey. Regular honey. What's the category? Is it food or is it liquid? Honey from dates. Yad Shach Adam includes honey from date honey. If the honey became so hard, now in Siman Kuf Nun Ches in Reb Chaim it discusses Netilas Yadayim for Davar Shetibul B'Mashkas. If something is if it says over there, if the honey became hard, the Magen Avram over there in Sifkot Nazayin says, if the honey became so hard it's no longer Tefes Machlat Piach, it's considered food. You don't have to do Netilas Yadayim beforehand. The Alter Rebbe, also in Kuf Nun Ches Sif Zayin, it's easy to remember, brings the Yeshayimlim, that Dvash is not yoytze miteras mashke lo'olam. Even if it's not tefech and naslat fiach. And Alter Rebbe concludes yishlochu shel divrei that you have to do Netilas Yadayim. Kum tois, that you have a problem. If you have something which is hard honey, but Yom Kippur, what are you going to do? Do you count it as food or do you count it as liquid? Hasta safek deraisa, right? And Alter Rebbe brings both shittas. So be careful, take it in mind. Maybe try to avoid things with hard honey in them. Chacham of Beroishai, that if you're anyways drinking, you might as well drink something which less liquid is going to give you more sustenance. something which is sweet, something which is juice, heavy juices, v'chulu, rather than, so to speak, wasting your ounces on just plain water. Smoothies is liquid. You could stick a straw into it. What's the problem? Alter Rebbe says nimayach kol kach. It's completely blended. Now, back into Sif Yudalad of the Alter Rebbe, if the doctors or other Bekim say that it's not enough, or they have a suffix if it's enough, you feed them without making such a cheshbon. I want to jump to the end of the Siman. Two things at the end of the Siman. Sif Tezayin says if somebody's a chazi bulmus, that he went blind because he has to eat, can't see anything, you feed him until he can eat. If it's not something, same thing with muberes she'ericha. If there's no heter, you give him isur. If there's two kinds of isur, you eat isur kal first. And we discussed yesterday, fort danishken baltaiva if you're eating davar asur. And Sif Yutches, before we go to Sif Yutches. Now, I want to go into what happens to these macholas asuras. Yeah, we mentioned it here, we mentioned it other place. What are macholas asuras? L'kut Sichas Chela Gimel, page 984 and 985. It's a Sicha and Pashas Tazria. And the Rebbe over there discusses what macholas asuras metamtem amoyach v'alev. And the Rebbe adds in the top of page 985, even when the Torah is matter to you to eat this, like the example of a muberes shehericha, that she could eat even a davar isur. But soif kol soif, this food still creates a mezeg ra, a bad attitude for the person who ate the isur. Two important footnotes in that sikha. Footnote number 13, that I've discussed it and mentions something that the Taz and the Shach say in Yeridea at the end of Siman Pei Aleph, that a meinekes which ate davar isur, even though she ate it beheter, for example, because of pikuach nefesh, should not nurse the baby. And the Rebbe explains why. Because even if she eats a davar isur, because of pikuach nefesh, that the achila was mutter, it still creates a mezeg ra. In the Order 16, the Rebbe now has to clarify l'chayra for the people. They're going to say, I don't want to eat a davar ra. Either Torah was matter, it creates a davar isur, it's going to create a mezeg ra. The Rebbe says, no, it's a mitzvah to eat this. And when it's a mitzvah for you to eat it because of pikuach nefesh, it's a mitzvah to eat it, even though it's going to cause mezeg ra. Just like sometimes you have to cut one aver from the body to be able to save the rest of the guf. But the Rebbe says, fort bechol zois teva hamay choloy nishtana. The food's nature, so davar isur, does not lose its status of being a davar isur. It doesn't lose its status of being a davar isur. It doesn't lose its status that it creates a mezeg ra in the person who eats it. And especially the Rebbe adds over there, according to the maskana, that pikuach nefesh is doiche, tchuya, not hutra. And the Rebbe concludes as tzarich on the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe in Igros HaKodesh Siman Chavav writes about somebody who ate something for pikuach nefesh, ve'nase heter gamur, complete heter. The Rebbe says, what do you mean heter gamur? We just said it remains davar isur. So the Rebbe says maybe that's why in certain prints of Tanya it's in parentheses, the word gamur, and in certain prints it's b'chlal not there. Yeah, but the Rebbe still remains a tzarich and ktsas on the Alter Rebbe in Igros HaKodesh, rather than saying that this is a proof fakert. The Rebbe builds up the whole thing that still the teva ra in macholas asuras. The teva remains even if you're allowed to eat it. And you have to eat it, it's part of the pikuach nefesh, part of the mesiras nefesh to remain a Jew, is to consume these macholas asuras which are going to create a mezeg ra. Let's conclude with one more thing. So if you tches in the Alter Rebbe, a person ate, nisyash v'daita, and he calmed down, he has to do benching. If he does benching, he says Yom הכיפורים hazeh, and Yalla v'yavoy. If it's Shabbos, he says Retzei. After the Alter Rebbe mentions if it's Shabbos, you say Retzei. What does the Alter Rebbe then go and say? But you don't have to do kiddush, and you don't have to wash and do a moitzi. Why? Because Chacham weren't masakin that. What's interesting is Alter Rebbe put that after he mentions Ritzei, which there from that was Medayek Rav Alashvili in his footnotes on the Siman. Was when Zagan Alter Rebbe does not hold like the Rebbe Kiveger. Rebbe Kiveger says that there weren't masakin kiddush when Yom Kippur falls at Bechol. But if Yom Kippur is on Shabbos, it's takonas kiddush, is a medes still there, and therefore you should do kiddush if it's Chal Shabbos. But being that he's medayik, the Alter Rebbe mentions the no kiddush after he mentions it, say Zacharaya that even on Shabbos you don't make kiddush. It doesn't tell you in this siman whether you do a bracha rishona. It doesn't tell you do a bracha achrona. So obviously it makes sense. If you're able to make a bracha rishona, make a bracha rishona. If you're able to make a bracha achrona, make a bracha achrona. Huh?
It's telling you to bench.
It's telling you to bench. It doesn't tell you to make a bracha rishona. Maybe the Chacham weren't masakin. Again, bracha achrona is midiraisa. Bracha rishona and bracha achrona and other things mean shalosh midirabanan. Takonas chachamim, just like kiddush b'yoyim, is not. Maybe it's not. You don't need to. So for that again, if you need a raya that you have to make a bracha rishona and achrona on Yom Kippur when you eat, Seder Birkas Hanen in Perek Zayin Halacha Tes. A chole which eats on Yom Kippur has to make a bracha before and after. And the Alter Rebbe says, even though he's not nene berotzein, but because of oines acholi, at the end of the day he's still nene, and therefore he has to make a bracha before and after. And if you look in Siman Reish Daled of the Alter Rebbe Siftes Vav, he says the same thing. Because of nene, you have anoah. But over there the Alter Rebbe explains it a little bit better. He says, Echole, why is he eating? He wants to become better through this food. So obviously, you have to say thank you to the Eibishter. So you have to make a bracha rishona achrona. And even though if it will be only for the refuah, something which is only for the refuah, so I'm going to explain what you don't make birkas hanen not before and after. Over here, you do when you enjoy it, because he's chafetz b'achila, he's chafetz. He wants the food, so he should be able to be misrape. Something which has no taste or it's bitter, the Alter Rebbe writes and says because then perek zayin halacha ches, you don't make a bracha, even though you have a hanoah from the refuah, you don't make a bracha. But over here you have a hanoah from the food, and the hanoah from the food is also because the fact that the food is enjoying the food, and you're enjoying the fact that you're going to become better from the food. But in Siman Kuf Tzadik Vav Sif Hey and the Alter Rebbe brings a different reason. When he talks about someone who eats davar isur, why does he have to? Because of davar isur and the Chil B'Yom Kippur, the Alter Rebbe connects them the whole time. Not like the Rambam. The Alter Rebbe connects them the whole time. They're the same din in both ways. Over there, the Alter Rebbe in Siman Kuf Tzadik Vav Sif Hey doesn't mention the word hanoah b'chlal. Why do you have to make a bracha rishona and achrona? Because heter hu oichel, similar to what it says in Igeres HaKodesh, which I mentioned before. Heter hu oichel, u'mitzvah hu oisel lehatzil nafshay. Talking about someone who eats davar isur v'mokim sakana. The whole siman is talking about someone who eats davar isur. You count them for benching or not. So here he says that in Kuf Tzadik Vav he says heter hu oichel u'mitzvah oisel lehatzil nafshay. Same kasha you have that the Rebbe had in Igeres HaKodesh. You have over here also from the same. It doesn't say beheter oichel. And but I guess I could. She have had nasik keheter gomor mamish, which is a much stronger lashon. One second. One more thing I wanted to say. Oh, in Siftes Vav. This is important, I forgot to mention it. In Siftes Vav, he says, if it's a mu'beres, or you let the stich zayin, or the chayil himself knows that he has to eat, and they say that they have to eat, So you're not supposed to be the one feeding them, right? Because they could eat by themselves. You're not supposed to feed them shiurim. You put the food in front of them, and you tell them Bazal Losh. That's what I'm going to conclude. It's today's Yom Kippur. If you're confident that you have to eat more than kashir, or you have a suffix whether eating kashir, more than a shear, eating less than a shear is going to cause you damage, eat without a cheshbon. But if you're confident that you're not going to get into sakana by eating pachas mikashir, then eat pachas mikashir. And you put the whole food in front of them, and you walk away, and let them make their own decision. And with that,